Are you one of the many musicians that I've had the honor of talking to and hearing from that are facing these huge obstacles of never having enough content, never knowing what to do next, never knowing how to stay consistent and get your music out there consistently and build your audience the way you wanted to see it grow? Well, today we're going to give you this free handout. We're going to give you the way to do it. We're going to give it all for free. So maybe it's time we have a think on that. Hey, everybody, welcome to today's episode. And today we have a very useful tool to hand out, to give, to share, to walk through, and something that I wish I'd had earlier in my career. And it's one of those things where talking and getting to interview so many great artists and musicians and just talk to them through their daily struggles and their weekly struggles, their monthly struggles. This one should help so many people. I know I've heard it from everybody, and it's a yearly release strategy on how you can implement these steps we're giving you, fill out your yearly calendar, and be able to have content coming out at all times, have new music coming out, new videos coming out, your social media calendar will be full because you're going to have all these things already set in motion, already set and going through. And the more that you're going to be going through this, it's going to become second nature, and you're just going to have content to release because you're going to have all these things already set and done. Now, that being said, a lot of this is attributing to that you're going to have music to release first and foremost. So we're going to move past that point. Like, you've already done this. You've already got your music ready to go. This has nothing to do with recording and getting that music done. This is something that most people, if they're going through their cycle, and maybe it's something that you're going to need to, if you're either newer to this or you haven't thought about it. A lot of people do their touring time through, end of spring all the way through mid-fall. That's when they get all their touring and they're playing shows. They're busy, usually writing music during that time, but you're not recording it. And then my busy time as a engineer and a recording studio gets busy from the end of fall through about the beginning of January, mid-January. That's when everybody gets done with their tours. They're ready to record all the music they've been working on and get that all set. Then when it comes to the beginning of spring to mid-spring, that's when you start seeing all these artists. If you haven't noticed, a lot of that release starts coming out, and you'll see it midsummer through the end of summer. All of them have all this music that's being released. And the ones that you see that are the biggest ones, the ones that you look up to, the ones that you idolize and say, I'd like to be at that level, you may have noticed that they're very consistent. They always have one every 6 weeks, every 8 weeks. It feels like almost even a month, they're putting out a new song, they're putting out a new video, there's a new single dropping, whatever it may be. And it's really important as you decide that you want to take this on as a career, you want to build yourself up, you want to build your career, you want to build a fan base, all those kind of things. Consistency is the number one most important thing, and this is how you achieve it. This is the tool that you can use to make sure that you're on that, that train ride that's going straight forward, that's building that momentum. So whatever you're doing, that's great. Maybe it's time to take a look at this and start planning for your next year moving forward. How are you going to get your music recorded? And then what are you going to do with it from there? This is the from there point. So on the screen now, I'll pop up what we're looking at, but of course below, just like always, we'll have our Patreon links that will take you directly to a free image, a free JPEG, free PNG, and a PDF, whatever is best for you. I got it here on my iPad, but it'll have all of that right there. As always, it's free. Just go pick it up, sign up if you want, but we don't charge anything. We just want to see you succeed. We want you to have the tools to get to where you need to get. So go pick that up, use it, have it. Like, what I suggest is just have it on your computer somewhere, whatever your main computer is, your studio computer, your recording computer, your laptop, whatever it is. Have a copy of this just so that when it comes to that time of the year, you're ready to schedule, you've got your music recorded. What's next? It's going to be ready to go for you. So let's get right into it. We got 4 steps, 4 easy steps to follow. And if you do this, I promise you're going to have the content. You're going to have everything behind you. You're going to be ready. You're going to be atop of people's minds if you follow this, and you're going to start to grow your audience. You're going to start to grow a following because you're so consistent, because people know you have something going on. They're going to want to work with you. They're going to want to be on a bill with you. You know, all those kind of things come from this right here. So let's go right into step one. Step one on our chart here is build slash organize your hub. Now, depending on where in your career, this is probably already done, right? But if you're newer or for whatever reason you haven't done this, you need to start getting these things in order before you even think about starting to put together a schedule or getting a release, calendar put together. You got to have your website first and foremost. You got to have some place for fans, for people to go see where your music is, what you're doing, where your dates are, where you're playing, uh, live shows, see some photos of you, where to go listen to all your music. It needs to be in that one place, that website. And of course, as you start trying to get booked, we've talked about this many times. Uh, you got to have that EPK ready to go. Right now, we'll link right now to, we have a great video on how to get your EPK set up, all that kind of stuff. But you got to get your website in order. Um, Got to get all your socials up and going. If you haven't done that yet, please tell me you've got that going. But if you haven't, this is a time to do it. Get your Instagram up and going. Obviously, Instagram is the most music friendly as it comes to sharing what you're doing on a daily basis, what shows are coming up, what you've done, what the show looked like, videos, all that. It's fantastic for that. Get your TikTok set up. If you're doing new releases, you're going to want to use TikTok. It's very, very friendly for putting out live music and for recorded music and videos and all those kind of things. Facebook is pretty mandatory, obviously, but barely anybody hardly even uses it. That's just my personal opinion. But you got to do it. It's part. I know there's a lot of people out there that will tell you it's great for running ads and trying to get new people to listen to music. Once you get to that point in your career and you have the money behind you and you're able to invest in that, it's fantastic for that. But get all those things set up. Um, Next is get your distribution set up. And we have great videos on that, getting everything ready to go. Of course, I always recommend DistroKid. You could say one's better than the other. You can go to TuneCore. There's so many different ones that you can use. CD Baby, but whatever you use, just get set up. Make sure you're able to release all your music when you're ready to do it. Best part about a lot of these, especially like I know for a fact, DistroKid, you can get a yearly deal. So no matter what you're doing, when you're releasing it, it's all taken care of. It's one price. It makes it so simple. It wasn't like this many years ago, 10, 15, 20 years ago. It was a nightmare. Everything with its own hassle set up. You got to get all the paperwork done, get all the distribution taken care of. Not anymore. Super simple. Get your setup. Make sure it's paid for and taken care of. I highly recommend doing the yearly release whatever you want kind of thing. Next one on there is get your songs recorded and finalized. If you got a list of songs that you haven't quite recorded, get a hold of either set up your studio, get them all taken care of at one time. I know that if you're going to be using this release schedule, you can do them, I'm going to do this one later and I'll just record this right before I set it out. You can do that, but I wouldn't recommend it because you're going to be taking on other projects. You're going to hopefully be playing live music. You're going to be out there doing things, and stopping to record every single time before you do it becomes a hassle. And especially when at the end of the year, and we'll get to this step, is you release it as a whole, either an EP or a full album. It's going to be probably all over the place. It's not a horrible thing, honestly. If that's the way you choose to do it, by all means, I would just highly recommend record all your songs at once, get it out of the way. Like I said, set up your studio, whatever it is, get it done. Record into your computer, record into your DAW, record into your audio interface, get it out of the way. Or if you have the means, if you have money behind you, if you have a job that you're able to save up, if you can collaborate with somebody else or a studio and get your recordings done, then I do this all the time with other artists where they will come in, we'll do all the recordings, and I will just kind of touch up their songs as they release. Hey, I'm ready for this song. Okay, let's get it ready. I want this change, this change. And I don't mind doing that at all. Some might not like doing that, but it's a great strategy. But the smart thing they do, at least most of them, is get all of them knocked out at once. But just make sure all those songs are ready to go and they're set aside, and you're done with that. The next one and the last one on this step one is to get all the artwork for the album done. And it might seem silly because, like I said, the last step in this is what we're talking about this. Why would you have that done already? It's just because when it comes to doing any press work, doing any kind of social work as we're going to be doing, that's part of the first single from this album, whatever it may be, just having access to that and having that direction of this is where the end product is going to wind up and being able to promote it in every way possible. It's a fantastic step to do. So have that artwork for the album done. And of course, get the artwork and all the credits and all that kind of stuff done for your first single, whichever one you've chosen as your first single. Get that all knocked out. So that's the first step. It seems pretty straightforward. I mean, it should be very easy, obviously. You haven't had to do any thinking. You haven't had to do any writing down. You just get all the steps out of the way so that you can move on to step 2. Let's talk about step 2. Now, obviously, the first thing that you want to do is do your first single. So you've done all the work. We're going to start talking about your first single. You've got the artwork ready because you've already taken care of that with step 1. And then 2 to 4 weeks before you decide that this is the first single from the album that's going to drop, that we're going to release, you need to start doing these steps. So this says 2 to 4 weeks before the release date of that single. You're going to set up your bio for the pre-save, your bio link. So, link in bio, whatever that is, wherever they're going to, if you're using Linktree or link in bio or whatever you're using. Obviously, you should be using something. And again, we have a great video on how to set that up. You can follow that if you haven't done that yet. Link that right there. And then set that up. Make sure that your pre-save and all that kind of stuff is just readily available. It should be at the top of the list or very close at the top of the list of where they can just click once, pre-save. I know pre-saves suck. They're a pain in the butt. They're honestly not that useful anymore. But just for those few and rare fans that are like, I want to support you no matter what, and I don't want to miss this, it's a great tool to have. And even if they aren't pre-saving, it just starts to put in their mind that something's coming up, something big is in the future for you. Have it set up and ready to go. The next step on this one, getting that first single out, is get the single out to any press or writers. I would highly recommend this. We will do a video again in the future on this, so please subscribe. Take the time, if you haven't yet, because we got all this stuff coming out. We have even bigger things coming out, so please take the time to subscribe. But get this out to the writers and any press, any hometown newspaper you have. Make sure you get it out to them. If there's anybody that covers music, let them take a listen. Maybe they'll write a piece on it, be available for them. Get them the artwork. So if they want to include any of that in photos, if you have your EPK together, you already have all those ready for them to just go pick it up and use them. But all those kind of things. But just reach out, say, give them the story behind the song, usually a little write-up, and get those out there. The more press you can get behind it, the better. And especially when it comes to people that do that work, the blog work, the writing, the stories behind the songs and those kind of things, and the reviews, they really appreciate having the heads up and the time to review it and be able to put their piece out with the release of the song. So they're also getting as much traffic as they can. It's a symbiotic relationship, and it helps you no matter what, because people are going to hear the review, read the review, see whatever it is, see the write-up on it, and hopefully go search out the music so they can hear it. The beginning of the 2 to 4 weeks, whenever date you started doing that pre-save, is you should start doing the reels and the social media content for that. That should include your pre-save. Make sure you're dropping that out there. I would highly suggest, if you got the song pre-recorded and everything's done, release little snippets here and there. You can even just do a reel with the waveform on it. Here, take a listen to this coming soon. You can give a hint of the artwork coming, all those kind of things. I've seen some people do like stories of, and we'll talk about this probably later too, of the story coming out. They'll do little bits and clips of how the song got written, the story behind it, those kind of things. That's actually the next step on here. Let's see. I knew what I was doing. Share any story, so you can share any of those stories, create content out of that. Any photos from when you were recording the music, which I of course highly recommend if you're especially if you're paying for a studio, take the time to get some videos, take some time to get some photos. If you're recording with yourself in your bedroom at home, just make sure you get some great photos of it doing it. That way you'll have it to reuse over and over for the social media stuff. So get lots of photos of that, any videos, all of that kind of stuff, just from the making of this song. Share all those kind of things. And of course, a great tool to use, not overdoing it, but at least once or twice, use countdowns. As it gets closer, whatever tools you might use, there's plenty of out there, but just use a countdown of, 2 weeks away or 7 days away, a week away, 6 days, 48 hours, all those great countdown tools that build up hype and anticipation for this release, that people know something big's happening, something's coming out soon. So we've built up all the hype for the single and for the song. Move on to step three, and that is just release the song. So we've gone through all the countdowns. The countdowns have hit 0. We're going on to making a big deal on the release day. That's number one on releasing the song. Make sure that you're available that day. Set it aside. And if you have to work, have things pre-scheduled on your socials to come out, or if you have a band or are the artists working with you, collaborate and like, hey, I'm busy during the day. Can you take the day to make sure everybody getting all the stuff out there, tag me and everything. And then when you're working at night, I can switch and I'll take over. I'll put out some videos and hype it up again. And, we'll tag each other, all those kind of things. Just make sure you're making a big deal out of it. As the song's released, it's finally out. Hopefully you can get some live performance of the song. If it's just you in your room playing the song on an acoustic guitar or on a piano or on a keyboard, just something where you're performing the song and a different version of it, but it's still the same. Something you can share bits and pieces of or the whole thing. You could even do a live performance on TikTok or Instagram Live, or you could do YouTube, Twitch, whatever it is. Find a way to do some live versions of your song. You should always have at least 2 videos of your song. And that sounds so overwhelming to do, but it really isn't. You should have one that you spent time on. Make a video. Record yourself playing a video. Record yourself taking the time to play it in front of the camera. You could make it as artsy fartsy as you want, make it as simple as you want, but there should be a video of you on the video. A second video should be just a lyric video. And I say this all the time, and not enough people are taking advantage of this. Go out and just record nature with your phone. Go out and take your camera, set it record 5-10 minutes of a river, of the sky, of the mountains, I guess not everybody has mountains. Privileged Montana boy moment there. But we are, especially the artists that I work with, you have one of the greatest backdrops for anything. Go find a reason. Go take a video of the ocean or, your local creek, whatever it is, something. Just put the lyrics over that, let the video run, have that to share for other people. You make content out of it, those kind of things. 2 videos, very important. And then do any press that you can for the work that you've done. If you can reach out to other podcasts and do that. Obviously, it's something that we do here, and we take great pride of finding artists that are releasing music, and that's why we've just created, if you haven't, go just check out after this, we have Between the Logs now, where we're trying to give them the opportunity to play their latest single, if it's coming out sooner, if they just dropped it. And you can hear and see them, one of those videos is taken care of because they came and took the time to do an interview for the podcast, but also took the time to do a performance. It knocks 2 birds with one stone. That's what we're trying to provide for artists. And if you can find somebody doing that in your area, or even just sit down, do a podcast and those kind of things, or usually everybody has somebody around them, some kind of production company that's doing, high-end videos. If you can get in touch with those, they're fantastic. Shout out to our local. We have Big Sky Bonus Tracks. They put together some amazing live videos and shows like that. And we have even more popping up here, just left and right. If you can get a hold of one of those and work with them, that's what, like I said, 2 birds, 1 stone. It's basically an interview. It's basically, free press, and it's also a video you knock out of the way. It's fantastic. Other things, news articles, again, local blogs, newspapers, anything you can get a hold of that they can do local press for you, do the interviews, do the time, see if they want to do an interview, see if they want to do something special about your release. Try to make time to do that. And the very last one here is if you've gotten to the point in your career, maybe you're just starting out and this isn't you, but it's something you need to keep in mind. You need to be updating your merch. If you have a new single, clearly you have new artwork, you have new lyrics and new kind of things that you can new imagery that is coming from those lyrics that you can create some new merch around that. Just make sure you're updating that. That's money in the bank if you're out playing live music and doing what you should be to be a full-time musician. Take advantage of that. Update your merch. So 2 things I want to talk about here. We just went through steps 2 and 3, and you'll notice on the the image here and the handout that we've given away for free, that there's something above it here that says repeat 3 to 5 times. So what is that about? Let's talk about that first. Repeat 3 to 5 times, and it doesn't matter here if you've decided that what you're at the stage in the career where you only have a couple songs and you did maybe 3 songs as an EP for the year. That's totally fine, but just make sure you're doing this for every single song. If you did a full album, 8 to 10 to 12 songs, just pick your top 5. If you're willing to do this, you'll have content year round and never have to think about anything. If you only want to do your top 3, that's fine. There'll be lots of other things for you to work with. Clearly you're busy. Clearly you're probably playing shows. You'll have plenty of content as well. But 5 is that magic number. I found that if you can do 5 of those and plan it out through the year, you will never have to think about, what am I going to do for content? How am I going to keep people interested? How am I going to show that I'm busy? All those things aren't going to hit you. Why do I feel like I'm stagnant? Never happens with this if you have that 5 song set up. So, excuse me. But below that, we have every 6 to 8 weeks. So there's so many differing and varying people out there that are giving you different advice, different ways. So just use what works best for you. If you want to put out more stuff and you think you could do it every month, do it. I wouldn't highly recommend it, but do it. Do what's best for you in your career and what works best for you in your area and your fans. If you're just a songwriter that can turn them out left and right and no big deal, that's fine. Just don't get to the point, and this is just a warning from an older man. Don't get to the point where you're just drowning them in your releases. It becomes less special. Every time you put out a song and you're doing it anybody that's doing it weekly or bi-weekly, you can get your fans and people that are following you can get overwhelmed or bored or just tired. Oh, another one. Who cares? They don't seem to mean anything. So just make sure it's special. So I would recommend 6 to 8 weeks, every, month and a half to 2 months, you're doing one release. And then by the time it comes to, midsummer, late summer, moving into fall, then you're able to set up something nice and big to, the whole thing pays off. And that's what we're moving on here to step 4. And that's release the album or the EP, whatever you chose to do. But make sure that you get physical copies of that made. Whatever stage of your career you're in, beginning or middle, or, you're killing it, just have something to sell at your shows because you're missing out. Some people want to take something away from it. People want to, if they like what you're doing and they're impressed and they want to find a way to connect with you and a way to support you, this is a great way to do it. I use a great site and I recommend it to a lot of people if you're, especially in the beginning of your career. I believe it's dollarduplication.com. It's super cheap. You need like $60 for 100 for the most basic cheap version. Has your artwork, has a CD, everything, the tracks listed on it, and that's pretty much it. But still, if you sell those for $10, the return is amazing. You sell them for $15, whatever it is at your show, your fans will pay and they don't feel like they're getting ripped off. You're making a killing on that. So just make sure that you get those done. Get the physical albums. Make sure if you can, and you should be able to, if you're playing your music live, you should host an album release party. Get a couple groups that are in your genre, that work with you, that are excited, that get them on the same bill. Have an album release party. Have as many people as you can. Get there, play a show, sit down, talk about the songs, tell the story behind the songs live in person, all those kind of things. Build up hype in person. Sell them, make a ton of money. That's the whole point of this. Set up an album release party. If it's just at a cafe or a bakery, a brewery, something somewhere where everybody can meet up, celebrate this accomplishment of the year where you got all your songs. It'll include all the singles that you've done, all those. Emphasize the ones they haven't heard because it gives them something new to hear, all those kind of things. Put on an album release party. Next step here is, of course, make merch, update your merch. It's on there twice. I will fix that. But the point behind that is just to make sure, same with the singles as you were doing updating your merch, make sure that if you're doing that album release party, you have the new merch, you have things out there that are saying, here's a photo of or a shot of the album itself, the cover art. You can do that, just the name of the album and the year. There's so many great options for putting out new merch, but here's an opportunity to make a little bit more money off of that and include that going forward in your rotation of merchandise as you're selling them at your tables. But just make sure it's updated. And same as the last ones, make sure that you're doing as much press as you can. If you haven't done any podcasts, if you haven't done them all yet, trying to get your singles out there, make sure that you're reaching out to podcasts, local people, local bloggers, local writers, anything. If your news network does stuff on local music, by all means, reach out to whoever's doing the things in your area. Um, but that's pretty much it. At that point, you've done all the work, you've taken the time, you've put all this out there, and you've had content for the entire year. And so for the rest of the year, you could either pick out songs. If you did a full album, you've only put out what, 3 to 5 songs and done all that work. You can pick 1 or 2 more just to kind of get you through the rest of the year. Maybe make a acoustic video, do something really laid back, a live video, something. Just make something out of the rest of your content. It'll get you through the rest of the year. And the best part about this is that when it comes to the next year, it comes to the time which you're recording your music for the next season, for the next year, you just go back to step 1. And the only thing I want to say about that is with step 1, when it says build, organize your hub. That's why we have the /organize, not just build, because you go back to your website. You're going to theme it after the next album coming out. You're going to make sure that whatever it is, change it up a bit so that you're keeping it fresh, that, new listeners and old listeners alike can visit all your stuff and get a new feel for you, a new, like whatever your new direction is, or how you've changed, or maybe you haven't changed and you just have new concepts coming out, new music, whatever it is, update it and go from there and just follow the same cycle. It works. It just continue. I promise if you follow this year after year, you'll have never ending content. You'll have so much ready to go. You won't have to think that much. You won't feel like you're inconsistent. And I promise your numbers will start to grow and you will start to build as an artist. So that's it for today. Like I said, check below. Everything's free. We've got the handout. We've got the free PDF. We've got all of that stuff ready to go. If there's any questions you have for anything, please just reach out. We're happy to help. If you have ideas for future content for us to do, reach out. We're glad to do it. We just want to make sure that whatever's troubling you, whatever walls that you're hitting that are stopping you and are a constant headache, let us talk about it. Let's see what other people's solutions are. Let's grow together. So again, take the time, subscribe, like, all that kind of stuff. We really appreciate your time, and we'll see you on that next one. Bye.